Everything is riding on Sunday night right now for the 49ers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. And no, I'm not going to say it's a must win because technically it's not a must win. However, this is a big game. This is a primetime game. This is a lot of guys having their opportunity to step it up. This is Nick Martin having an opportunity to step up for the first time. This is Jordan Watkins having the opportunity to step up for the first time. This is several young defensive linemen who need to step up big against this Bijan Robinson run offense. There are so many elements to this game. I can't even begin to express them all that are so important for the 49ers. Namely, the fact that a week ago, the 49ers were number one seed in the NFC, and if they lose and a few teams win, they could be 10th after 2 weeks. That is unbelievable to go from 1st to 10th in just 2 weeks' time. It's early in the season. I get it. I'm not trying to say that the season's over if they lose or anything like that, but I do feel like a lot is riding on this opportunity for the 49ers to get things right, to get the attitude right, to get the positivity right. And they have a lot of things going in their favor. We're going to be talking about that in today's episode for sure. It's just going to come up as we're talking about the NFC and, of course, winning the West. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Appreciate all of you guys. You're awesome. Let's get straight into it, starting with our State of the Union question. That's what we like to start off with here. The state of the NFC West, the state of the 49ers. And we're going to start that one off with a question. My wife's got 4 questions for me today, one of which, 3 of which I've had a sneak peek on, and one of which I haven't even heard about, so I'm looking forward to that. That one's an on-the-spot question. But let's start with a State of the Union question. Based on how things have gone, where are we at, that kind of thing. What's your question, Hannah?
All right, Nate. So the 49ers, unfortunately, obviously lost last week. The Seahawks did not lose. They look great, and they are so good that Richard Sherman has them top 3 in his power rankings. Yeah. Unfortunately for us, the Rams also didn't lose, so now we have a 3-way tie for first. How are the 49ers going to stay on top?
So firstly, you're not wrong. The Rams and the Seahawks are both playing decently well. You could say the worst game the Rams played this season in a way. You could look at the Philadelphia game in a way, but you could look at the 49ers in a way and say that's kind of the worst game. There were a lot of things that just did not go their way, and they were at fault for a lot of those. I'm not trying to say they were flukes or anything like that, but it's a good team. Like, they are a good team. And the Seattle Seahawks are also a very good team. I don't know if I'd say they're the top 3 in the league, but they are a good team, and they're definitely running a very efficient offense. They have a strong defense. And I guess the first thing that I would say regarding your actual question, which I think was how are the 49ers going to stay on top? Let's look at it from 2 angles. Number one, the 49ers have beaten all of the teams in the NFC West. That is a huge advantage if they can maintain victories elsewhere. So they only need to tie if things stay the same in order to take the tiebreaker, right? Now, obviously, you're going to play all those teams again this season, and that could change things. So I think the number one thing, obviously, is they're in a position of strength as long as they keep up and can match other teams. The other part is the 49ers going forward, they're going to need to have an elite offense. That's just my opinion. I don't think this defense, although I still think this defense can be effective, I think best case scenario for this defense is probably middle of the pack defense. Like, if you could be between top 15 and top 10, like if that's where your defense could land, that would be good enough. Your offense needs to pick up the slack on the rest. And I say that from a lot of perspectives. I know one of the questions you're going to ask about is defense related, so I'll kind of hold off on some of that. But as far as I'm concerned, I do think we're going to need the offense to be elite. Thank goodness that George Kittle is coming back. We're going to desperately need him to stay healthy in order to have an elite offense. We're also going to potentially need Brock Purdy back. Mac Jones has done pretty well. But I do think this offense, from what we've seen so far, the best offense we've seen in the last 3 years came from Brock Purdy and company. So I like the way Brock Purdy runs the offense. I like the way that he escapes the pocket. I feel like he's found his feet from that NFC Championship game, especially on. I mean, from the Green Bay game too, actually, in the playoffs in 2023 on. We've seen him take strides in good ways. Sometimes a little happy feet, but overall, I'll take the benefits that we've gotten with him on the feet that we just don't have from Mac Jones. That being said, Mac Jones has done some pretty special things too in recent memory. So all of that being said, On offense, we need to be elite. I really do think that we need to be like a top 5 offense if we really want to go to the playoffs and have a serious chance at like going deep in the playoffs. The offense needs to be elite. Defense wins championships. That's the way that it's always been. I don't know if we can get to the promised land, so to speak, right now. But if we want to have a shot at it, it's going to have to be an elite offense. Absolutely. On the defensive side, we're going to need some help. Straight up, like we need some help. On the defensive line specifically. But we can go into that more if we get to the I think you have a question coming up on defense. So let's go ahead and get to the next question that you have. This is your hard hitter question, as we call them. So go ahead, ask me the tough questions, the questions that 49ers fans don't want to think about. Go ahead, give it to me.
Okay, so this 49ers team has a lot of problems that they need to solve. How do they do it? Where do they even start?
Keeping it broad for me. I like it. Totally true. 49ers have problems. I mean, we could count them all. We got running the ball. That's a problem. We have trenches offense, trenches defense problems for sure. We have gaping holes between two of our defensive pillars, the two defensive pillars of being gone now in Fred Warner and Nick Bosa for the rest of the season. On top of that, you have a safety problem that's a growing problem. You've got a safety issue that has been getting worse. Now, Malik Mustafa's back. That's great. Tig Brown is getting a shot. He's getting his op to go out there and be the starting free safety. So maybe the safety problem gets better this week. That would be great if that's the case. But in general, you definitely have some issues going on there. Ronaldo Green has been in and out health-wise with a neck injury. So, I think there's a lot of issues going on this team. And that's not to mention wide receiver injuries and other stuff. Like there's a lot going on. Quarterback 1 injuries, right? It's amazing that I went through that whole list of problems. And QB1 injury is the last thing I mentioned, which tells you something about how well Mac Jones is playing. All of that being said, how do they do it? Where do they even start? I would personally, and I want to know what you guys think for sure, but on the offensive side, we'll answer one for both. On the offensive side, I would start with the run game. That's where I would put all of my energy and enthusiasm and focus and training right now. If you can get the run game going, if you can get the run game and not like in a classic old school, establish the run game and you'll be able to do other things. I mean it more so in the sense that you need a multi-threat offense, and right now, we don't have a multi-threat offense. We do not have the threat of the run, and defenses can play a little bit more vanilla if they want to. And they aren't punished if they don't play vanilla, right? That's what you need. You need some breakout runs, some explosives in the run game to keep them honest. I think Brian Robinson Jr. has the longest run on the season. We don't have a single run on the season going beyond like 25 yards. And I'm not saying that those should happen every game or anything like that, but you should have some explosives now and then. And you definitely would like to see, I think this is actually the lowest explosive play rate since Kyle Shanahan took over, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's pretty low. It's at least one of the lowest for sure. So I would like to see offensively, I'd like to see them really bring the run back. I don't know what it's going to take. I love that a lot of people you want to say Isaac Guerendo. I don't think Kyle Shanahan trusts Isaac Guerendo. He doesn't even trust him in special teams anymore. I don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to run the ball. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Jordan James, be nice when he comes back from injury to get some reps for him. Brian Robinson Jr. is a reliable back, and I like him for short yardage situations. I like him for, red zone, but you're not going to see him do that because Christian McCaffrey's your red zone guy. So it's interesting, it's an interesting opportunity to see how that plays out. That being said, I'd like to see him get more opportunities. On the defensive side, where would I start to solve the problems on the defensive side? I mean, it's got to be the trenches. It has to be the trenches. That's no one's going to come in and be Fred Warner. Nobody. You can who was it? John was saying in the comments yesterday, go and get Jamien Sherwood. I love that guy. I don't think that's a horrible idea to trade for Jamien Sherwood with the Jets, who played under Saleh. He's a great linebacker. I was excited about him. I was hoping the Niners would get him. But quick pause for a message from our sponsors. One of the sponsors I'm so excited about on this channel. Genuinely, I'm stinking proud that this channel can be sponsored by Chomps. Chomps is a company that is fantastic, and their product is amazing. I absolutely love these things. If you've never had them before, I strongly suggest you give them a try. I had never had them before. My wife actually picked them up, brought them home, and I'd never heard of them before, gave them a taste, and I genuinely love them. And I don't just love the flavor. There's a lot more to love, like 0 grams of sugar, 10 grams of protein, 100 calories, grass-fed beef. And if you're like me, if you're trying to focus on nutrition, you're trying to pay attention to what you're putting in your body, like this is fantastic. I love these things. They come in different flavors, by the way. I've got a couple different flavors here you can check out there. And there are lots of other flavors you can choose from as well. I strongly encourage you to go check them out. I've said this before, like I was not a diehard beef sticks guy as a kid. And I am now because I love these. Chomps made me a believer. These are so delicious. If you click the link in my description, and use my promo code STSF. My friends over at Chomps want to give you 15% off your entire order, which I think is pretty awesome. Throw them in your gym bag, throw them in your car, throw them in your desk at work, whatever. They're fantastic, and they're there when you need it, and they're always satisfying, in my personal opinion. I think you should give them a try. All right, back to the video. He's not Fred Warner. No one is Fred Warner. So is he better than what Tatum Bethune could be? I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he's more guaranteed on what you're going to get from him, but I don't know about that. What I do know is if you're going to only trade for one player, and that's the sense I get right now, if they are going to make a trade, and they've been in conversations a lot, I don't think they're trading for a bunch of guys. Like John Lynch himself said, we have who we need on this team right now. And that was related to the linebacker question. So I don't think they're going to go get a linebacker. I do think they're going to get somebody for the defensive line. I don't think it's going to be as big of a splash move as everyone wants it to be. I don't think it's going to be Trey Hendrickson, for example. But they do need another guy. They need a solid guy, a vet with experience who can come in and be solid. And it might not even be an edge. It might not be. I'm like, I can't believe that Javon Hargrave is having an amazing season. After all that we gave him and nothing in return, essentially, for Javon Hargrave. How is that possible, right? You're seeing other guys that played for the 49ers go and have nice seasons, and it's so frustrating. You're like, we could really use Javon Hargrave being able to pass rush right now. And I understand, like, we're trying to run something different. We got something else going for us. But right now our pass rush is so bad and so ineffective that we need help. And so, I'm not saying it needs to come from a defensive tackle. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers don't pick up the guy everyone thinks they're going to do, because a lot of times they don't do the obvious thing. So we'll see how it all goes. But if it were me, those are the first two places I would focus. Those are the two places I'd put all of my intention in. I feel like everything flows out of the defensive line. I just think it makes a lot of sense. All right. Let's get to your on-the-spot question. Go ahead. I do not know what you're going to say, and I want you just to say it, get after it, and we're going to just, on the fly, we're going to go for it.
Okay, Nate, dream with me for a second here.
Okay.
If you had the opportunity to go back in 49ers history and pick any one player and add them to this year's roster, who are you picking and why?
So I think the obvious answer, and I please comment below on this one. Please comment on who you would pick. Because I'm sure there are tons of you in the comments who are bigger 49ers fans than I am, and were alive during some of the great years in the 80s and stuff. Like I'm only 35. So here's what I think it would be easy to go for, like Joe Montana, Steve Young, etc. I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to just think about what has hurt the most. And I would not have gone into the season saying that Fred Warner is the most important person to this football team. But having seen your quarterback go down, having seen your best defensive lineman go down, having seen your best tight end go down, your best wide receiver go down, man, wow, the 49ers have been through a lot. The one that hurt the most was the linebacker. Absolutely, Fred Warner going down. So I'm going to go Patrick Willis. That's the guy. I know slightly different defensive scheme, but can you imagine Patrick Willis in today's NFL? Well, he'd probably get flagged a lot for the way he played, but Could you imagine Patrick Willis today? I mean, we saw Patrick Willis in his prime. The 49ers have a long history of great linebackers, and Patrick Willis is one of those ones that I get excited about. I would bring Patrick Willis back. I mean, I'm assuming in the spirit of the question, you wouldn't let me say Fred Warner in terms of great linebackers from history or 49ers players from history. I'm assuming you mean like back in the day. I would love to see him back. I could also be enticed by like 100 other players. Like I could be enticed by Vernon Davis as your tight end too. Could you imagine having prime George Kittle and prime Vernon Davis and just what you'd be able to do offensively, as we've been talking in the last couple of days about 2 tight end sets and stuff. So it's just on my mind. Like that would just be brilliant. So, Jerry Rice, obviously, wide receiver situation right now is horrible. So Jerry Rice would be a great shout for classic players to come in their prime and join the team right now. Yeah, Jerry Rice. That's probably the right answer. But defensively, we so badly need help. We're like decently effective at quarterback right now. So I'm like, I don't know that we need to change that. You could go like Joe Staley or something if you want to go like fix the offensive line. For me, I'm like, who, based on the current weaknesses and strengths of the team, who is the biggest weakness, or what position is our biggest weakness right now in terms of if we solved it with a great player from history would have the greatest impact on the rest of the team? I think having Patrick Willis as your linebacker right now would have a huge impact on the rest of the defense. Man, Cowboy, there's some good ones, dude. There's some good ones. That would be great to have a powerful monster on the defensive line. Okay, you got to let me know in the comments. That was a great question. That was a great question. Boy, I could go on that all day long. Let me know what you guys think on that one. I would love to hear that. We do have one more question to close us out today, and that is the fan question. Hannah, go ahead and share the fan question.
Okay, now for my personal favorite segment when we look in your comment section and pick one comment for you to respond to. So this comment is regarding trading Jennings. Kumba Boy writes, forget what happened in preseason. The man's playing with 5 cracked ribs plus other injuries. There's a real reason he may be grumpy. A trade is a no from me. Is Jennings on the block?
Short version, Jennings not on the block. Jennings is not on the block. So, no. I understand what you're saying. I got a couple comments. I think people thought that I was trying to say we needed to trade Jennings. I never said that, and I wouldn't say that. I love Jennings. I love what he brings to the team. What I said was those who are suggesting the 49ers should trade Jennings, I understand where they're coming from in the sense, just in the sense, don't come at me, in the sense that you've got a guy who's probably playing his last season for the 49ers already. You know he's on his way out. He's probably going to get a better deal than the 49ers are willing to offer him. There's been a little drama. All I'm saying is I understand why people are making the statement that Juwan Jennings could be traded for someone else. In terms of trading him, as I've said forever and a day, Juwan Jennings is more valuable to the San Francisco 49ers than any of the 31 other teams. He just is. And unfortunately, because of the way the 49ers set up their contracts, he's also less likely to get as much money from the 49ers as most of the other teams either, if that makes sense. So he's more valuable to us than he is to most everybody else in terms of what we can get out of him, the leadership, the on-field blocking, all of that stuff, okay? But also the 49ers, realistically, they're plug and play with wide receivers, most of them. And so they can just filter through. It was Kendrick Bourne, then it was Juwan Jennings, and it can be somebody else. And that's not something I want to say. Like, I don't say that that's like a good thing. I'm just saying it as a matter of fact. That's the way that the 49ers are, and that's the way that it's going to be. So personally, I would say I would not like to see Juwan Jennings go. I would love to see the 49ers agree to an extension with Jennings. I like Jennings. I think he's a great player. I think what he brings to the team, like the dude, think about this for a second. The dude gave up a 1,000-yard season because of how hard he blocks. He puts everything out there on the field, so much so that he will take a guy down in the Detroit Lions game instead. Well, I think it was the game. Was it the Lions? I thought it was the Lions. Anyway, he'll take a guy down instead of getting a 1,000-yard season, instead of shooting for his own metrics. He'll have a breakout game against the Los Angeles Rams, the best game of his career, and he'll walk off the field angry because they lost. That's the kind of guy you want on your team. I don't want to get rid of Juwan Jennings. I wouldn't get rid of Juwan Jennings if we could avoid it. I'm just saying I understand where they're coming from. So to your point, is he on the block? No, he is not on the block. Is he a guy that the 49ers should try and keep? Absolutely, they should try and keep him. He's a great player. And not that long ago, he signed what I think was a $17 million deal or something like that for a couple of years. And it was a great deal, and it was one of the best days of his life at the time. And then he just went and did a job for the team that put him and the team in an impossible situation. Does that make sense? He goes and has a crazy year because the 49ers don't have Brandon Aiyuk, and they're really struggling at wide receiver because, you've got a first-round draft pick who can't play. The 49ers are in a tough spot because Jennings balled beyond what he was supposed to do for the team. He went so far above and beyond, yet the 49ers do not see him as that kind of guy long-term. And they're not wrong, in my opinion. He isn't that guy long-term. He's reliable, but the way that the wide receiver market makes you pay for players, he's never going to be able to get that value for the 49ers. And the 49ers don't see him as a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2 long-term. So they can't pay him like one. And that's okay if you disagree with that. That's totally fine. He's a great player, and I understand why you would disagree. I love him, and I'm sad that this is probably his last year as a 49er, but I at least understand where it's coming from. That's all I was trying to say. Appreciate you guys. We are one stinking day away from the Atlanta Falcons coming to town for a big Sunday night football game. Big game, prime time. Everybody's going to be up for it. The biggest show in football, the biggest, whatever spectacle you could want on a Sunday night in the fall is this football game right here. Looking forward to it, and I will look forward to talking to you about it after the game has taken place. Appreciate you guys, and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening.